Now we're going to study two more goods, complementary goods and substitution goods. For some goods, the consumption of one good makes the agent want to consume more of another good. So for instance, if you like to put sugar in your coffee and you feel that these two goods necessarily go together, these two goods would be called complementary goods. Same thing with bread and jam, if you like to put jam on your bread in the morning. Goods that tend to be consumed together are called complementary goods. Let's look on this graph what complements look like. So on this graph, we are shifting from a budget constraint that makes the optimal consumption point move from P1 to P2. So the budget constraint shows that there's been a change in prices. The price of good B has decreased, whereas the price of good C has increased. For complements, a variation of prices which leads to a small variation of the chosen quantities of both goods, that tends to represent goods that are complementary goods. For perfect complements, there's only one combination possible on the indifference curve, and there's only one combination that's possible in terms of the optimal consumption point. So for perfect complements, you can think of goods that can only go together. So or your right shoe and your left shoe. You're not going to buy two right shoes and only one left shoe. If you buy one right shoe, you're going to buy also one left shoe. For perfect complements, prices do not affect the relative consumption of the goods. For other goods, an agent might consume less of one good if he consumes more of another good. So those goods tend to be called substitutes or substitutable goods. So for instance, for some people, they might be indifferent between drinking coffee and tea. So they would think that these are perfect substitutes. For other people, if you like to put jam or honey on your bread in the morning, those could be substitutes as well. So substitutes are goods that can replace another good. Indifference curves for substitutes tend to be flatter in their shape. So flatter indifference curves shows that there's a higher level of substitution between good B and good C. So here you see that a small change in prices actually leads to a large change in the consumption of good B and good C. This is quite different from the complementary goods that we saw a couple of slides ago. When goods are perfect substitutes, the indifference curve is actually an indifference line. That means that a small change in prices actually leads the consumer to shift completely from consuming one good to consuming the other good.